Quiero olvidar el aroma de tu cuerpo. Quiero olvidar el sabor de tus labios. Quiero tener.
Thank you for coming. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, first of all, for Mr. Ambassador of Portugal.
I am glad to open this event in honor of His Excellency, the new Portuguese Ambassador of Portugal to the State of Israel, Miguel de Almeida e Sousa. And the event is in presence of Mr. Fernando Ferreira da Silva, the cultural attaché of Portuguese Embassy. The ambassador of Portugal, as I understand, is a jurist and a very important figure in Portugal foreign affairs. And we are very delighted to have him as the cultural attaché as a guest today. And we would like this event will be the beginning of a long way with the state of Portugal. I would like to say that the former president, Yitzhak Navon, is the honorary president of our institute. He apologized for not coming today. And now I invite His Excellency, the Ambassador of Portugal, to say his opening remarks to this event.
Okay, good morning. Thank you for this invitation. I'm usually considered by my colleagues as rather unconventional as a diplomat, because usually I prefer to speak with the heart instead of saying official statements, which I also do. So my very competent cultural counselor prepared me. He was insisting me, let's prepare something, let's prepare something. I said, no. Since for what it is, and since Marrano history is something that is, we share Portugal and Israel, because it is as part of Israel, as it is part of the history of Portugal. So that's something we share, that's something you need to talk with the heart, never with your head. So I will be rather undiplomatic, shall we put it this way? So, first thing, I would like to, and you will forgive me, Professor, to propose a change on this. Because this is said it is in my honor, I'm very flattered, but let's put it in the honor of my compatriots that for centuries strive to keep the faith of their forefathers and their ancestors, and I think that deserve this honor much more than me. Okay. Secondly, history of Marranos is something, the history of Portugal, between Portugal and the Jewish people, it's a long, long, long history. Like long marriages, there are moments that are more happy than others. And if we, Jews existed in Portugal even before we existed as a country. In the first centuries, they were accepted, they were tolerated, and they were considered as one of the multiple peoples that lived in Portugal. They were protected by the king and also by the bishops, but the king was the most important, and it was they were said they were the king Jews. There are several documents that speak about them as my Jews. So this meaning that no one could touch them because they were defying openly the king. when there were vague of expulsions and persecutions, Portugal was spared to death, even after the Black Plague. But later, in the 15th century, when we were meeting other people, so when we should have been more tolerant, things changed. And came the conversion, the forced conversion. One should look, when we look at historic facts, one should think that we should see it in their context. And there were political reasons and cultural reasons at the moment to take some measures which doesn't explain them. But at least it can help us to understand why they were taken, especially because if they were a break-up with what was before. And this was continuing, and after 2 centuries of Inquisition, when it was expelled, Jews started to return to Portugal, and they were a very important element in our culture. And this continued until the 20th century, when the crypto Jews of Belmonte that preserved their faith underground, they were forced to, that created their very own culture that spread a little bit everywhere in the world. And they gave us the gift of a secret part of our culture that we didn't know and that we are trying to rediscover these days. And this is something I was very happy when I received this invitation, and I said I would come, in the sense that Portugal is now trying to renew its links with all the parts of its culture, revisiting its culture, revisiting its history. And this is one part that is taking lots of attention, and which is something I think it is very important. Someone said that, there was a French thinker that said, though one who does not know where he comes from, does not know where he goes, for he does not know where he is. And I think this is the very strong truth. We cannot say there were benefic aspects on the Inquisition or in those periods. But the fact is, after the existence of it was destroyed, the Inquisition, people looked back and saw what a tremendous historic error it was for our country. So they started to see things on a different way, and they started to promote and to instill a spirit of tolerance that existed long before the beginning of our history. And so it started with tolerance. During all the 19th century, you had the returning of Jewish communities that started to exist openly. But there was some areas where they were, and quite fairly, we must admit, they were afraid to come to the light. After the Republic, which is in 1910, there was the leveling of all religions at the same. According to the Constitution, none was more important. So then all the last discriminatory, there was in the 19th century, there was only a discriminatory rule, which was that the synagogues could not have an open door to the street. That was the only concession that was given to the Catholic Church. But after 75, everything, and then it was the period of Salazar, where you could not discuss the glory, you could not stain the glories of the Golden Age. After the Revolution, things changed, and you put everything into question. And this was also another aspect. And you saw people starting to assume and be very curious about their Jewish heritage, which is important in Portugal. You know, when I arrived in Israel, I felt very quickly at home. And I was very surprised because in many ways, we are different. But I felt at home. I didn't know why. So I started paying attention. I started seeing that on many gestures, many feelings, many reactions, I could be at home. We react in many things, in many ways. One of the things that I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself. One of the things that was told to me, you see, you, Ambassador, you have a very difficult time because in Israel there are 4 Jews, there are 5 opinions. When it's said, and I thought, well, that will be the problem, because we say in Portugal, one Portuguese, it's a desolation, two Portuguese is animation, three Portuguese is a revolution. So I think that's another way of saying exactly the same things. So now we are having one of the aspects of the rebirth of this studies for Jewish culture, part of our Jewish heritage is happening in the north. You have in the center where the Marranos use the region where they lived, and you have lots of they are recovering old synagogues, they are opening studies, they are promoting initiatives. One of these will be next week in the tourist fair of Tel Aviv. There will be mayors from several small cities where the Marranos lived that will be presenting the itinerary of the Jewries, which if you can go, please do go and see, because they will have material, they will have films, they will have photos. But now, in a way, since now it's becoming open, it is becoming too open. What do I mean by this? This is that when they discover, fully assume their Jewish identity, they do earlier. So we are having a situation where we are having synagogues and no Jews. So I'm sorry, okay, it's very completely normal. Next year in Jerusalem, they want to come to Jerusalem, it's completely normal, but we must do something about it. And the solution is having Israelis going back and going there to visit, to go there and visit. But it is important also to go and visit, because today in Portugal, I think there is a respect for different religions, for different opinions and all that. But that is something, it is a status. It is, in fact, if you read the book by Avram Milgram from Yad Vashem, he says that in the 20s, there were no anti-Semitic feelings on the Portuguese society, and which is true. But that is something that could not indulge us too much, or to give us say that everything is safe. No. This is a fight that we always must do, to explain, to show, to demonstrate that tolerance and respect, more than tolerance, respect, because tolerance supposes that there are differences. That respect is the basic rules of a sound society. That is something that will be very useful for the expertise that from this academy going to Portugal also to say and to promote also to have a change of views and present it in the right way. People are curious. If you have a very small Jewish community in Lisbon, and we have several seminars from time to time, several conferences, and they are small, and there are amphitheaters a little bit larger than they are always full, meaning that most of the people are non-Jews, which are curious about their identity, to know more about those things. So I think that this is something that must be encouraged. And that is something I'm trying on my role here, is to put people into contact. Because one of the things that I'm flattered at the same, that is very sad when people say, oh, I went to Portugal, I felt at home. That's Israelis that go there and that say, no, you know, I felt at home. So why shouldn't you? It's home. In a way, many of Israelis come from the diaspora. Many of them, many Sephardis, for instance, come from there. And it's going back home. And we want to see you back home, even if it is for a visit. Come, teach us. There are lots of things that we don't know. There was one thing that there was a mark on the doorways, on the, what I think it's called the lintel. I didn't knew that. I just noticed that there was. I thought it was something. Today I know it's a mezuzah. It was a place. And some of them were out of the jewelries. So it existed. So these are lots of things that if you come, I think it will be very interesting, because it is only through dialogue, when people talk to people, that especially when we have such a common branch, the and cultural branch, which is always very important. So I think it is very important. So first of all, I'm hoping to learn lots of things here today, to hear from you. But also I came, and also I'd like to invite you to go to Portugal, talk to common people, go to Belmonte, because go to Castelo de Vide, go to Guarda, because lots of things are being done. In a way, don't take it wrongly, but it will be also like a mitzvah you are doing, because it's going back, it's backwards. But anyway, because you are going there and you are helping to take things, to promote things, to put better understanding between people, and this is something that you are helping to revive, because people want sometimes to, they are reconstructing all the juries, more or less, and it takes time and money, and if they have visitors, they only have they not only have knowledge, but also things, food for thought, which I think is the best thing. We don't want to self-indulge. We need help from our historians, which are done, and Professor Jorge Martins is coming now for this tourist fair. This was one of our experts on history. He has a 3-volume history of Portugal and the Jews, and a small book that I brought for if you ask me hard questions and difficult questions. And secondly, but it is also, it's nothing more than if when you go there to just talk, this is that, because like Professor Schwartz did, he went there and he noticed, tell them, this is, are you sure that is not, you're not a Jew? So in a sense that it gave the cultural dimension. So, and sometimes it's not the big professors, I'm sorry, Professor, it's not the big professors, but sometimes the common people can help that. So please come. This is an invitation. You will be heartfelt welcome, and you'll see that it will be like going back home, and you'll see that you'll feel at home. Okay, thank you so much.